What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast, April 13th edition. I am joined by Rob McCarron. Rob, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I am happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're here, Rob.
Thanks. Yeah, for the last 8 minutes, I was here, but not here at the same time. Like something was going on. It was fishy. I wasn't a big fan. I'm not in the best mood now, but I will try to turn that around here because we had a pretty good week in the pro graps.
We did. Unfortunately, there is a couple of unfortunate news items. Bray Wyatt looks like he got hurt. We'll talk more about this tomorrow night, as this is usually the non-Raw podcast, but a bummer of a time for it to happen, although I don't know if they had a lot planned for him. He has this babyface turn, but what were your initial reactions when you heard of this injury, Rob?
The big babyface turn, yeah, but I mean, depending on how long he's out, it could be really hurtful for him because this babyface turn is happening. You know, they kept him away from Brock Lesnar personally. The Wyatts always got involved with Brock. This could have been your SummerSlam match. It could have been Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt, and that's a pretty big deal to get Bray back up there. So it's bad timing for him. For WWE, it's not the worst timing because, you know, in a couple of months here, you're going to get Seth Rollins back. But you know, John Cena, Randy Orton. Thing is, they're still going to be out of those guys for the next 2-3 months. So is it a big hole right now at this very moment? No, but depth-wise, it certainly hurts.
I'll tell you who it really, really hurts. Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman. Well, because if it wasn't bad enough that Luke Harper was out, now Bray Wyatt's gone too.
Yeah, and you had this program with the League of Nations that, you know, was probably going to go somewhere at Payback in a match, and now do you do just a tag team match with Rowan and Braun in a tag team match? I don't know if I would trust that very much. So maybe you just maybe it's forgotten if you know, Bray Wyatt's actually hurt. And one thing you got to keep in mind, I know the WWE website, I'm not saying he's not hurt, but what's been happening lately? WWE has been faking injuries. So I, you know, we'll get more information. We'll see if he's off TVs for a while. But with Kalisto, with Sami Zayn, they got in this kind of mood where we want to frighten those who think they know everything, and we want to have these injuries play out. So we'll see what happens, but it's bad timing for Bray. Certainly it's bad timing for Braun and Rowan. You know, the tag team division is stacked, but you know, with this tournament going on, there's not really a big plan for Braun and Rowan to be in that unless they're just shoehorned in. So yeah, they're kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Another piece of very unfortunate news, ECW original Balls Mahoney died at the age of 44 yesterday. He had a couple of WWE runs, one less memorable than the other. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Santa Claus appearance was more memorable than his run from 06 to 08, but he made even appearances for Ring of Honor and TNA one-offs, but really made his name in ECW, performed in Smoky Mountain Wrestling as well. Very underrated in the ring. He had the reputation of having the style that he did, and he actively spoke out against that style throughout his career. He was an amateur wrestler, was legitimately barred for punching a referee in the face, but what are some of your finer memories of Balls Mahoney?
Yeah, you know, the ECW, I wasn't a big fan of the Axelrod and Balls Mahoney tag team necessarily because they weren't doing the type of wrestling that I really liked. So, you know, I wasn't necessarily a fan there, but it's just heartbreaking that you lose both of those within the last, 7 months? We lost both Axel and Balls Mahoney. You know, it was cool when he came into WWE as part of the ECW Invasion.
I mean, Axel just died 2 months ago.
Oh, was it 2 months ago? So yeah, that's, you know, just happening lately. Yeah, just so close together. It's a shame. So, I mean, my more vivid memories of Balls Mahoney are going to be his WWE run, his ECW run. I always thought the stuff he was doing with Kelly was kind of entertaining, you know, on a show that was really grasping all different directions to see what would work. That was one of the brief things that was working as a short segment, not as anything that was important. But yeah, Balls Mahoney coming in as part of the ECW guys for all those one-night stand shows, and the revamp of ECW was kind of a cool moment. And yeah, I mean, he's been less active in recent years. I mean, he was kind of winding down from the whole wrestling thing, but he would occasionally make appearances. It's a shame. It really is that, you know, you have these two guys who passed away so close to each other.
Also, guys, I highly encourage you to check out Anarchy Rules 99, I think it was. He had a very underrated match with Rob Van Dam. I don't think anybody was expecting the type of match that those two put on, because Balls Mahoney had never really been given that opportunity on a pay-per-view level to display that. And it was really good. It was actually one of my favorite Rob Van Dam matches I'd ever seen. Condolences to the family of Balls Mahoney. That's a shame. Moving on to brighter news, we had NXT tonight, and this was a very much a show where they were putting over the people who needed to be put over. We had guys who were losing on their way out. We had a lot of squash matches. We had Shinsuke Nakamura, Bailey, Austin Aries. We'll start with a little bit from the top. Austin Aries, I think, really needs to be a heel. We've talked about this before. He doesn't come across as likable in that same manner that so many of the NXT talents do.
No, well, and the thing is too, there's going to be a time where they have to decide, like, are we going to keep going with this just because, like, he's one of the indie darlings per se, so he should be a babyface, or are we going to go do what he's more comfortable being and what he comes across better as on TV? It's all about positioning and who his opponents are going to be. So once they actually create a plan for him, it made all the sense in the world for him to be opposite Baron Corbin right off the bat. Made sense for Baron Corbin, made sense for Austin Aries. But what's next? And we have so long until the next takeover that they really do have time to figure out what's next for him, what's next for almost everyone else. So when
is the next takeover? Sorry to interrupt. When is that?
What, middle of June? Middle of June.
God,
so we still got,
really?
I guess we got 2 months now.
They've really been spacing them out lately.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were going at a pace of about every 2 months, every 2.5 months or something like that. So it's a little bit of a stretch, but
yeah, this was 2.5 months, but the one from, I guess it was much longer from London till Dallas. That was actually kind of long. That was about 3.5 months, if I remember correctly.
I think it's because you had they were also basing it on when their tours were, but you had Brooklyn at the end of August, and then the next one with the 30-minute Ironman was October? And then you had another one in December. So those were kind of close together, but they were still about 2 months apart. So that's kind of what we got going on here. So the next one being in June, and that's an exciting month too, because they're going to tape this Global Cruiserweight Series at the end of June. They're going to have a takeover at the end of June, but you have 2 more tapings in between now and the actual takeover event where they can really shuffle things out. And they have to, because some of the talent that they've been using, Enzo and Cass on the show next week, some of the talent that were on the show this week, you're not going to have them. So it's an exciting time. It's kind of like New Japan for the last 3 months. It's just an exciting reshuffling of the deck, and you're going to see who steps up and who doesn't.
Also, Alexa Bliss took on Tessa Blanchard. She won. I didn't think Tessa looked very good in this match, but
no, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see her for a long time, if ever. I mean, Tessa Blanchard's one where they gave her a shot because everyone was there, but it's not like she'd been flown in before. I mean, she's a woman who had never been flown into Orlando where others have, because she's young, but she upsets the wrong people, and she does it quite often. I mean, she has a story from WrestleMania weekend where she upset Lisa Veron, the former Victoria from WWE. It seems to follow her. She just doesn't have the necessary attitude to be political right now. She's got the famous name and the famous dad. That's kind of all she has going for her.
Actually, I talked to Eva Lise last week, and she had sort of the same type of thing when she was in developmental. And it's almost kind of surprising that Tessa Blanchard is in that situation, because one of the people that Eva Lise put over so much for being able to navigate the waters politically was Charlotte. She said that Charlotte had the same type of desire that she did to not be a bathroom break match.
Yeah.
But because Charlotte had the advice of her father, she knew how to navigate those waters much, much better behind the scenes than she did. So it's a little bit surprising that somebody like Tessa Blanchard, that maybe her father doesn't pull her along and say, hey, maybe Lisa, maybe Victoria isn't the person to be pissing off, because Lisa
don't piss off anyone.
Yeah.
Be respectful, but to outright, when a veteran wants to help you, you're 22 years old or whatever it is, when a veteran wants to help you, telling her to go away or being a brat is probably not the way to go. You don't know anything. I mean, you're in a position where you finally had a tryout match, if you will, Lucky that it got put on TV, and I don't know if she's trying. Someday she'll figure it out. Someday she'll realize, what the hell am I doing? I'm not getting calls. Why is that? Oh, it's because I'm horrible backstage and horrible to other people who can help me. Someday it'll figure out.
Yeah, maybe rejecting a 7-time TNA WWE champion the way that she did, not a good idea. I'll tell you,
just rejecting a woman who's been in wrestling for 10 years and was with both companies, not even champion, not even high level, just the fact that she was there. I mean, I don't care who you are. If Deonna Purrazzo comes to try and give you advice, you listen. She's been in the game and she's been flown in. Listen to everybody.
You can learn something from everybody. I think that's the attitude to approach pro wrestling, MMA, anything like that. You never know what somebody will be able to teach you, because there may be something that somebody completely inexperienced, they take a fresh look at things, and you've been stuck in the pro wrestling mindset for so long, you don't realize that something makes sense or doesn't make sense. I know one thing that does make sense, and it's this new Alexa Bliss persona where she is just pissy all the time. I mean, she's been a heel, but she's really taken it to a new level recently. I think it fits her very well, that where she'll just stare somebody down and she's just like this beautiful sawed-off monster. I think it fits her very well.
Okay.
Anyway, also Bailey on the show.
Yeah.
She won.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that match?
I mean, I don't know what I'm going to think about all of these Access tapings, because it seems like almost superstars in a way, where the storylines aren't going to kick in until they get back to Full Sail and tape TV. So right now you're just kind of having exhibition matches mixed in with some video packages, and it's kind of get me over TV, like get us to the next TV taping, fill a void. That's what it screams to me. You got, a Shinsuke Nakamura match here. You're going to have another one in a couple of weeks, just kind of showing you who the new guys are, because the names that Big Cass and Enzo are leaving. Sami Zayn is leaving. You got Vaudevillains are leaving. So you introduce some new names. Liv Morgan getting TV time, which is really nice. It's just get me over TV. So I'm not really going to critique matches here. They're just putting stuff on TV to put stuff on TV right now. Interested to see what Nakamura goes through and see where they, kind of put Finn Balor in this situation now. So it's going to be worthwhile watching because it's a unique atmosphere. But until they get back to Full Sail, I don't see much of anything actually happening.
Baron Corbin picked up a win. That's fine. What when you look at a guy like Tucker Knight, what do you see his ceiling being? It is hard to say right now, but
it's hard to say right
now. First glance,
it's hard to say right now, only for the fact that you have a couple of guys in NXT right now that kind of fit the same mold as Tucker Knight, where you have Sawyer Fulton. You have some of these. Not Scott Dawson, but I'm forgetting one, and I should know which one. The guy who teamed with Sawyer Fulton.
Angelo Dawkins.
These guys all scream kind of the same thing to me. They're big guys, but they're not like super fit guys. So they're guys who could do well in the performance center to get their bodies right, to get their health right, and kind of come up with ideas and see what's going on. Tucker Knight looks the part as like a big brawling guy, but they don't have any of those now. Kevin Owens has really been the only one there for a long time that's been the big brawling guy. And I just don't know where they're going to go. Tucker Knight right now is going to lose on TV for the next year until they come up with a character for him. That's just what he is right now.
I'm so quick to write a guy like him off, but then I think back.
Hey, you're gonna come up with an example, but I want to throw the example of Bull Dempsey out there, where we wrote him off too right away, and then they actually gave him time to get over, and he sort of did, but didn't jump any hills. Tucker Knight might be able to do something like that. Go ahead with your example.
Well, I mean, there was, Big Cass 4 years ago. Who would have thought that he would be what he is now, with the way that he looked physically, the way that he looked in the ring? And he was very green and very new, but he completely transformed himself. And that's possible with almost anybody here.
And that's what I mean. You're absolutely right, because Tucker Knight can go there. He's got a world-class gym that he can go to 5 days a week, for the next year. So you can change yourself. You can change, we're not talking about changing personas here. We're talking about developing one, but we are talking about changing your body so that you actually fit the role and look good on TV. They hire these guys. They hire guys that don't look the part because they know they can bring them into the performance center and get them into shape. And I'm not trying to harp, this is the Vince McMahon thinking, right? We're talking about what is Tucker Knight's ceiling. and we keep talking about his look and his body, not necessarily because that's what we see off the bat, even though it is sometimes, but that's what Vince is looking at. Vince is looking at that little camera watching the TV show, and he's wondering, okay, why is this big guy all fat and out of shape? You know, what's going on here? I don't care. He doesn't know how long he's been signed. He doesn't know how long he's been in the Performance Center. All he's going to see is this guy on TV, you know, big, but not cut or toned. So once he gets that in check, who knows? You know, there's sky's the limit for almost everyone down there, because who would have thought Mikey Dalton would get to where he was? And now Tyler Breeze was blowing up in NXT. You don't always know.
Also, Vaudevillains lost on their way out to Gargano and Ciampa. I thought this was a good thing for them to do. And by all means, now, whenever Gargano and Ciampa are on NXT in the future, you can say, hey, these guys beat a team who advanced in the WWE Tag Team Tournament, yada, yada. The story of the show, Shinsuke Nakamura debuted against Ty Dillinger. I thought this was a good debut on NXT in their weekly episodic programming. Ty Dillinger. Thought it was a very good idea.
Ty Dillinger's the right guy. He's the guy that they use to get a new talent over. I mean, Apollo Crews, that match was really fun at Brooklyn. So yeah, Nakamura looking good. I think you noted on Twitter, right, that it looks like Shinsuke Nakamura, his knee at the end has been retooled a little bit. I mean, it's not a straight knee right to the face. It's kind of the glancing knee. They tell him to kind of stay on his feet, don't be flying up in the air, which was Daniel Bryan's finish. Like Daniel Bryan had been using that move, but they don't want Nakamura to be doing it. I don't necessarily know exactly why, but I mean, that's an interesting observation you made.
Yeah, and I mean, the ring is softer in NXT than it is in New Japan. So, I mean, not like taking that bump that he's taken a million times would hurt him. I think he's more likely to hurt himself doing it like this than to hurt somebody else doing it the way that he used to do it. Because that's not necessarily a natural motion, that a knee to the face while you're standing. But it is a glancing blow. That was very interesting to me. And I'm also I'm confused why they changed the name of it, why they needed to change the name of it. Is that,
didn't we talk about, maybe this was my show, or I thought we talked about it here, but
yeah, you know, I figured you might know this.
Well, the original, you know, the Baumaye means kill him. So yeah, they don't want kill him to be the name. So they changed it to Kinshasa, which is the city where the, you know, Baumaye was first used, or the chant, you know, during the Ali fight. So instead of calling it the Baumaye, which was the chant, they just used the city. So it still has the tie in there. They just didn't want, you know, fans to be screaming Baumaye or Michael Cole to be saying kill him on television.
You've proved your use yet again, Rob.
Yes.
I thought this was a good, it did what it needed to do, this episode of NXT. You got a lot of stars on the show, a lot of people who needed wins, even a guy like Baron Corbin who's moved up to the main roster. Sure, I'm cool with him doing that.
It's an easy watch, right? I mean, this is what NXT struggled with before all the cool names. Even when Finn Balor debuted and he was having, you know, singles matches every once in a while, the TV was okay. The storylines were okay. It was the takeovers that were the big thing, but TV kind of dragged sometimes. This episode didn't, to me. This episode was an easy one to watch. It was fluid. You got some wrestling in there. You got to see a lot of different names. So I like this, and I like how they're using some of the newer girls, the newer women in the division. And yes, they're jobbers right now, but just getting their name on television and showing that your division is pretty robust is a good thing. So this TV episode was a pretty big win. It's a unique look. Didn't look too different from Full Sail like I was expecting.
Sounded a lot different.
It sounded different, yes, but to me, like, the look wasn't that drastically different, and they do a good job of doing that, because even when they were at the CFE Arena, Central Florida, the arena was, you know, what, 10 times bigger, 20 times bigger, and they still made it look really like Full Sail. So they do a good job at that, at least.
So I mean, yeah, we had NXT, we had a big show from New Japan. Oh, by the way, guys, if you all haven't already and you're watching this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to us on YouTube. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, we had a big New Japan Pro Wrestling Invasion Attack show.
Oh yeah.
Stayed up till 7 in the morning covering that thing, and it was brutal to do, but man, a good show. A good show, and the booking made you left this pay-per-view and you were excited about what's coming next, or at least you knew what was coming next. They planted a lot of seeds. There was a lot of good stuff, and Tetsuya Naito is your new IWGP champion. It's like they saw a situation where a guy got over big time. It was time to pull the trigger on him, and they did it, and it worked. Rob, what did you think of this? The match was a ton of fun. Even more fun than that, in my opinion, was Naito after the match. Throwing the belt in the air, not giving a damn about it, getting in Ishii's face, and vice versa. Lots of good stuff on this. And a year ago, I couldn't stand Naito. I hated how in that G1 run, he had his knee injured, all that stuff, and didn't sell it the whole time. Kind of made me not want to watch him. Now I can't get enough of watching this guy.
Oh yeah, no, it's hilarious too, because Naito in the next day, his press conference, he was referencing how some fans were cheering him when he couldn't get cheered for the life of him when he was a babyface. Like he was going and trying to be a really nice guy and win the belt the right way, and no one would get behind him. And now, he doesn't care. He's throwing the belt all over the place. I mean, that is his current gimmick, is the fact that, he won't take his shirt off during most matches, because why? He's in a 6-man tag. Why do I have to take my shirt off? I'm just going to fight you when it's necessary. It's a very cool character. He's done wonders for himself for the last year. There were some out there that were skeptical of, why would Okada lose it so quickly after getting the big defining win over Hiroshi Tanahashi? And he had the Hiroki Goto win in between. So I thought this was the right time. I had thought going in that Tetsuya Naito was probably going to win this match. I still think Naito and Okada in the rematch is how you get to Wrestle Kingdom next year. I think that's the big dome main event. What I was surprised about is that Ishii is going to be the first challenger. I probably shouldn't be. He's the one that's available, if you will. I thought that maybe Goto would have won a singles match somewhere, and Goto would probably do it for Chaos and fall, and then Okada gets a rematch by winning the G1. But yeah, Tomohiro Ishii and Tetsuya Naito is going to be great. I mean, they've had fantastic matches before. And it's a situation where you get an ROH champion going up against a New Japan champion. If indeed, I believe, Global Wars is after the case. So Ishii should still be ROH TV champion by then. It was fun. It was a great show. We had the 6-man tag team titles going to Yoshi Tatsu and Michael Elgin and Hiroshi Tanahashi. So those continue to be the hot potato of New Japan. This show was fantastic. Had a couple of title changes, had some retentions, some really fun stuff. Will Ospreay and Kushida. Will Ospreay made himself into a star, and he's got so many more opportunities to do that this year with the best of the Super Juniors and the J Cup, and just tons of opportunities. And it was a fantastic show. You should go watch it, and it's only $9 to do so. Another
thing that I loved, like Okada's not getting an immediate rematch. I think that in WWE handcuffs the booking team so much, to where it didn't happen with Kevin Owens, but if Roman Reigns is ready to pass it on to the next guy, they almost have to beat him 2 or 3 times for that title before they can move on. And I think that handcuffs them. Okada might lose a few more times this year. And, the G1, everybody loses. That just happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I would not have Okada lose a singles match outside of the G1 this year. In fact, I would have Okada winning the G1. I wouldn't actually be surprised if he wins every match. That never happens, but in theory with current New Japan. But I wouldn't be surprised if he runs the table and just wins his block by a ton. I think that's how he gets his rematch with Naito. And it may just be because Naito doesn't care. Like, why do I have to give Okada a rematch? I won. This is the gimmick. So Okada's going to earn that rematch with Tetsuya Naito. That's the way I would do it. I wouldn't have these two face off again until Wrestle Kingdom, unless they have some bigger Wrestle Kingdom main event. They may have Tetsuya Naito against Hiroshi Tanahashi for all I know. But to me, Okada going at Wrestle Kingdom is the way to go against Tetsuya Naito. I just, it's going to be interesting seeing how they get there for sure. And the story with Okada is interesting because he finally got his big win against Hiroshi Tanahashi, and now he's got to fight all over again for the title. It's like he didn't necessarily do both. He accomplished the Tanahashi thing, but now winning the title and keeping it for a long time is still a story that you can go with him for.
Wasn't all good on the show. We had Guerrillas of Destiny, the team of Tama Tonga and Tangaroa against GBH.
Tangaroa.
Yeah,
no one knows his name. No one knows his name.
Who gives a shit? It was a terrible match. It was not good.
I'm not saying you don't know his name and other people. I mean, New Japan doesn't know his name. It's the funniest thing because they've been hyping him as 3 different names. But yeah, Guerrillas of Destiny, that was, it's sad because it's amazing that the Bullet Club tag team division can go downhill when you lose Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. Like they weren't lighting the world on fire in New Japan either. And you got the Young Bucks at the junior tag level, but for the heavyweight tag, Tama Tonga, I was really, really looking forward to seeing what he did on a higher stage. But I guess tagging with his brother is not going to be the big way. No, it's the first match. Maybe they get better. But
I hope so.
That was not a good showing, and it's hard not to have a good showing against Togi Makabe and Tomoaki Honma. It's not hard to have a good showing against them, and they made it look so laboring. And yeah, I'm not a big fan. And we're gonna get the rematch. I mean, the rematch is happening in just a few weeks.
I was shocked at that. And Camacho, we'll call him Micah, whatever. Not a good fit here. Maybe he will become one, but not a good fit. Shibata retained the openweight championship, and afterwards, I loved that he just booted Nagata in the face. That was beautiful. It sets up everything. It's perfect.
I love this gimmick of Shibata just going through the old guys right now, like the guys who don't believe Shibata is worthy of this championship or, having this important place right now. Because there's legitimate heat there. People are still mad at Shibata for leaving New Japan like he did when he was a freelancer. And now he has a full-time deal with them. So they're going to push him for a while. I love this gimmick of beating all the old guys. I hope none of the old guys beat him. Like, this is a guy who should keep his title for a long time unless they have a real story. Michael Elgin's in the Intercontinental title picture right now. I thought Michael Elgin and Shibata would be a really good match for the Never title. I don't know who's going to be a challenger after Nagata, but I wouldn't bet on Nagata actually winning the belt.
There are a lot of potential great things for Michael Elgin to do.
Oh, there's a ton.
Just all complete. It's all fresh. It's all everything. Fresh for him. Speaking of, he won the Never Openweight 6-man tag titles alongside Tanahashi and Yoshitatsu. It was like a feel-good moment. Yoshitatsu coming back, winning against the Bullet Club. AJ Styles no longer there, who broke his neck with the botched Styles clash. But throughout the match, Kenny Omega teased it, and it got a great reaction. It was awesome. Oh, yeah. Also, something I want to bring up. Bullet Club Elite had the TV moment of the week, in my opinion, and it wasn't even on this show. Oh. Did you happen to see Ring of Honor this week?
No.
It was fantastic. ACH goes to the outside of the ring in his match against Kenny Omega. Nick Jackson super kicks him in the face while the ref's back is turned.
Naturally.
He places a banana peel on the ground, and they all say that ACH slipped. The crowd then chanted, "He slipped, he slipped, he slipped." The ref bought it, and to make up for it, Kenny Omega took his broom and swept the banana peel underneath the ring. The best segue to a commercial I've ever seen. Almost as good as the segues that lead to you, my friends, going to ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. You can go to ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc and get a great deal on the Max Pack used by WWE stars such as John Cena, such as even, like I've mentioned before, Steven Richards uses DDP Yoga. Go check out what kind of shape that guy is in for his age. Used by AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, guys like that. ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. You can get all kinds of great shirts, merchandise, things like that, as well as The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, the excellent documentary about the recovery of Jake the Snake Roberts after his trials and tribulations. If you've seen Beyond the Mat, if you've seen his WWE documentary, this is an excellent companion to that. You can check that out on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, PlayStation Network, all over the place. The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Also, guys, go say hi to our friends at trendybutler.com. You can save $10 with the coupon code Wrestling10, all caps. And of course, tweet our friends at Trendy Butler, tweet our friends at DDP Yoga. Let them know that the Wrestling Inc. podcast sent you. Support the show, my friends. But yeah, 6-man, never open weight tag team championships. I was really sad, Rob, because as you know, I love these championships.
Yes, I know. Yep.
We did a poll on the website last week.
Did you know?
They were voted the least prestigious tag team titles among New Japan, Ring of Honor, TNA, Lucha Underground, and WWE. Can you believe that?
I would say, I guess I probably can, just because if you don't really follow New Japan, you don't even know what they are, and they're new.
And they're very new. Yeah,
they're very new. The least prestigious tag team championships, though, I don't know if the NXT tag team titles are necessarily prestigious. I don't know if any of it really
those
matters.
Those were voted very highly. I'll pull open the list.
Yeah. Developmental tag team titles that are only won by teams that are not worthy of the main roster, so that they can teach them how to be champions and get a spot on the main roster. You guys know the NXT tag team titles are not a sign that you're the best tag team in the company. They're a sign that they want to get you ready to be more than what you are. The American Alpha is actually an exception to the rule in the tag team ranks. The Blake and Murphys of the world, who we just had, the former Mechanics, the Revival of the world, the Ascension for so long. It doesn't mean you're the best tag team. It means that they need to see what you bring to the table. American Alpha just, as NXT becomes its own brand,
they are an anomaly.
They are the anomaly in the tag team division, and they'll lose it to someone who no one thought would be a tag team winners. For all I know, Angelo Dawkins and Sawyer Fulton will come and win the titles from them at some point.
Yeah. Here was the listing, and I did a singles list as well. And this is voted on by our readers. WWE World Tag Team titles at number 1, followed by NXT tag titles, IWGP tag team titles, the Ring of Honor World Tag titles, the TNA tag team titles, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight tag team titles, the Lucha Underground Trios titles, and the never openweight 6-man tag team championships.
All right. I mean, it's a little wacky just because, WWE is going to get votes because of the name, and, you want to be the WWE tag
visibility,
team right? Yeah, visibility, right? But if you're voting for the NXT tag team championships because of, okay, these guys have great matches and the titles actually mean something on television, they're not an afterthought. Why aren't they just winning? And how are they ahead of the IWGP junior tag team titles or the heavyweight tag team titles? It's a little surprising, but all in all, it's a fan voting poll. The fans have spoken, and we must respect that. Also,
the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship among lightweight titles, 92% to 8% over the TNA title, which it's amazing how much TNA's X Division Championship has fallen. But other singles titles.
Who is the champion right now? Is it Trevor Lee?
I believe so.
Okay. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I generally don't know.
Oh, no, I believe it is. And for the singles titles, here's how it went. WWE World Heavyweight Championship, number 1. NXT Championship, number 2. IWGP Heavyweight, the Intercontinental title, WWE's. Then the IWGP Intercontinental, the WWE United States, Ring of Honor World title, the TNA World title, the Lucha Underground World title, Lucha Underground Gift of the Gods, ranked above the Never Openweight Championship, which was a surprise to me, and the ROH World Television title, and nobody voted for the TNA King of the Mountain Championship. So,
well, is Eric Young still the champion of that, or?
No, he dropped it at a taping. I don't know if it's aired yet, but
that's right. These illustrious. I love taping now because we went from a place in the country with wrestling where things were taped so far in advance, and then everything had to be live. And, the longest delay you would have would be like 3 days for SmackDown. And now we're back with NXT, with TNA, to where you're waiting for things to air. With Lucha Underground, they tape matches this weekend that aren't going to air until January of next year.
Yeah.
It's amazing how wrestling is cyclical. We went from everything having to be live to where people were debating if SmackDown, of all things, had to be live. Because why are you taping shows in this day and age? And now everything is taped. The only show that's live is Raw. Everything else is just taped.
I agree completely. It's so weird how things have changed. And I mean, it was
wacky, Sean. It was wacky. It is strange.
Yeah, we had Bull Dempsey, who was fired, the end of January, maybe, and they knew he was going because they wrote him off of the programming, and he didn't disappear off of their TV until the week before WrestleMania. So, yeah, that's just it is. I didn't really thought about that, how cyclical that is.
Yeah, in all things, it really is in all things. This is a real true thing, and I'm sorry for hijacking the show again, but my buddy just texted me, and I want to get your opinion on this. Maybe maybe some of the readers, if you're monitoring the chat room or the comments or anything like that, if there's an answer to be had. My buddy asked me, if you were starting a rewatch of WCW Nitro, do you just start at Scott Hall's debut, or is there a better starting point to go and rewatch Nitro? Do you start from the beginning? Do you start at Scott Hall's debut? Do you start at Sting's return? What do you do?
I think you have to watch it from the beginning to see what led up in storyline to Scott Hall's debut, because they played off of all of the shots that WCW was taking at WWE, all the little things where they were giving away results and things like that. He would come in and say, "You want a war?" Well, it's because WCW fired those shots.
Are you going to rewatch earlier Nitros just to hear that 1 second of the announcers giving away results or the announcers taking a shot at WWE?
No, I mean, the shows were like, an hour back then or two?
I think until early 96, they were an hour. Yeah.
Oh, those are easily watchable then. Those.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's like 45 minutes on the network?
Yeah, about 42 to 45. Yeah. You should be.
I think those are easily watchable.
Plus,
you get to see some great Hogan versus Kevin Sullivan matches, I'm sure.
Yeah. No. Okay. So if you're doing, if you're saying you go from the beginning, you don't start midway through, you have at it. And when they start going 2 hours, you just, not necessarily suffer through it, but, tread through it as best as you can. Okay. So I'm going to text him back saying, no, watch from the beginning, you dork.
Enjoy it and don't regret it.
Don't regret it. Parentheses, too much.
And when he gets towards the end, at least he'll get to see a little bit of Blitzkrieg. That's always fun.
Yeah, God, I remember because I'm 12 years old and Blitzkrieg comes in and he's there and he's everywhere and he's winning matches, and then all of a sudden he goes away. I got to tell you, Blitzkrieg's run was a very weird thing in WCW for a 12-year-old mind, because you're like, wait a second, I was just cheering for this guy, now he's gone. What happened here?
He was phenomenal.
Was Guerrero, Blitzkrieg, and the Juice. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, he was an impressive guy. He was just, for somebody, I mean, that seemingly came from nowhere and then went back to nowhere, had some impressive stuff going on. Speaking of promotions that didn't exactly work out, TNA moved their offices to their warehouse.
To their Shop TNA warehouse, yeah. I mean, you already have the building. You don't need it for as much merchandise anymore. And you have 4 or 5 people working at the office now, maybe not even that many.
I think it's more than that.
Well, the thing is, they're moving their production to third party. So all the people that were working on production are no longer going to be there.
I thought they had already done that, though. I thought they did that like months ago. So I mean, there could be.
I mean, we're talking all of their production, because Mike Tenay, or not Mike Tenay, Josh Matthews was doing production and doing voiceover and all that stuff in the Nashville office. So now they're all doing third party. So I'm guessing they downsized a little bit. So yeah, they're all going to be in one area instead of 2. The time was right to look. What I just don't get, and there's all this reporting, and a lot of it is guessing on certain aspects. It just has to be, because we're just 2 months away from TNA offering a whole bunch of money to all of the Bullet Club members. We're 2 months away from them offering James Storm about $200,000 to $250,000 when they don't run events. And now we're talking about downsizing offices because they're not making money.
Can you believe they offered James Storm that amount of money? How many people, and I like James Storm just fine.
He's not bringing money in, though. You're not going to a TNA show to see James Storm no matter what he's doing. And now Bobby Roode is gone, so what the hell? I was stunned at offering him really any money. Offer him what he would have made downside with NXT. Because, okay, take a gamble. If they sign him, so be it. But if you sign him, don't pay him 2 times more than what he would make elsewhere.
I mean, good for him. Good for him.
Great. No, great for the guys. But you're going to downsize your office, yet you're offering like $1 million combined to AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and James Storm. What is happening here? That where is there money coming in from the Carters? Is there money coming in from these TV deals? And they're like, we just want to put that on talent and nothing else. Like, we're just going to have names as a part of our roster to work 4 days a week, but we're not going to be able to produce a show. We're not going to be able to have an office to go to. We're not going to be able to have meetings with anyone to expose ourselves to more audiences because all of our money is signed up with James Storm to come in and super kick someone and drink beer.
Yeah. Yeah. And this thing Dixie Carter has going on and has had going on, or maybe it's the Carter family, where they are unwilling to sell a majority stake in the company because of the perception that she has failed. Do you think everybody knows? It's not a secret anymore. So now there was an opportunity to perhaps save the company a couple of years ago with the Jarrett and Toby Keith thing. They had a much better relationship with Spike than Dixie did. Now you've got supposedly another chance, but we don't know how much of an aid this will really be, but there apparently is a buyer interested, but they want the majority stake, and Dixie Carter, again, unwilling to forfeit that.
Call it what it is. Dixie Carter has proven herself to not be very good with business. She's just not good with it. Imagine if Vince McMahon had come in and taken over TNA exactly where it was. You think TNA is on Pop TV right now?
No.
They're either moved into some other type of branding or they're much bigger than they are. Dixie Carter is just, from the people that she's hiring, we're leaving talent out of it, like not even doing anything with talent, maybe except for the Hulk Hogan deal, leaving talent out of it, just looking at who she's hiring for backstage work, looking at how she presented herself on television, look at how she presents herself in business emails that have leaked out, how she presents herself on Twitter. This is a public relations expert, apparently, who is not good at public relations, let alone running a professional entertainment company. TNA behind the scenes is quite possibly a bigger disaster than what WCW was. And that's saying something because it's unbelievable. And the talent is great. They've had, good television of late, if you want to put everything overall, but they're going to be off Pop TV in a year. They're going to have no television home. We're going to be through this all over again. And they're going to find some other low-level channel that wants to take a gamble on wrestling to try and get itself up. We're 2 years away from them putting episodes of Impact on YouTube for $2 a piece. And that's what we're going towards if they want to keep going as a company and not sell.
Which is funny because we talk about being cyclical again. Between their Fox Sports 1 run and their Spike run, they streamed their shows online through Real Player, if you remember that.
I remember being a freshman at Ball State looking at my Real Player trying to watch these TNA Impact episodes. I remember doing that back in the day when I was really excited to see guys like Roderick Strong and AJ Styles on television. And right now, there's no one in TNA that excites me. I could know that Michael Hutter should be big, and I can know that they have some interesting fellas on TV, but that doesn't make me excited to go watch them. Like, I'll be excited if they go back to WWE or if they're doing something cool on ROH, but I have absolutely zero interest. Call me a snob, whatever. TNA, I'm one of the fans that TNA just begrudgingly just threw away, like through whatever they've done. I've been to more TNA house shows in the last 6 years than Ring of Honor shows. Like, to tell you how I was willing to give TNA a chance. I'm not this guy that's, poo-poo TNA for no reason, but they've done nothing to keep me as a fan. They've done nothing to keep anyone else as a fan. And God bless you if you watch that show every week and like it, because, that's good. That's what they should be doing. I just can't do that myself. I couldn't watch that show weekly.
I was a faithful from like 2005 to early 2009. I thought they had one of the best rosters around. Now, with the exception of a couple guys, you see the same thing every single match. And that's unfortunate because we have talked about the EC3s and even guys who have stepped up. I think Matt Hardy and Tyrus have stepped up with their personalities and things like that and offered something we didn't know that they could show.
Right. And you know, Matt Hardy was great as Matt Hardy version 1 when he was a little bit more of like a dickish kind of guy. And
yeah,
it's just sad watching Matt Hardy wrestle now because you can tell that his back must just be hurting him so bad.
Oh, I'd say so.
He has the same walk as Hulk Hogan does now. Like his back is all stiff and he's moving the legs left and right. And it's just not a natural walk. So, but this guy's doing it because he loves it. You can tell the Hardys love wrestling. They just do. But it's sad to watch him. It's sad to watch him in the ring. But as far as a character, you're right. Matt Hardy's been able to do things better in TNA over the last 2 years than since he was doing in 2003 with WWE. Like, it's been a long time since Matt Hardy has been this great.
I kind of relate this to you. It's like seeing a friend who you know is like terminally ill, but you never really see that friend. You'll see their Facebook pictures and you see how worse they get. And they're a shell of their former self. You can still see that same beautiful friend that you once had, but they're not there. They're not physically there. And that's what TNA has become. And I hate that for the people that worked so hard to help build that and help make it what it is and still give their bodies to TNA. They still have people going through thumbtacks on this show, and it's being seen by a couple 100,000 people. It's being said that first run advertising is running for $300 and some on the show. We could take an ad out for this podcast.
I tell you
why
what,
would we?
Well, you would just hey, my ad was on TNA Impact. And in theory, if you were placing an ad on Impact, more people are likely to, go to a Wrestling Inc. than they are to buy whatever is being advertised right now on Pop TV. So it's probably the demo you would want to advertise to. And at $400
Sure.
for 150,000 viewers, probably not the worst thing in the world.
Something else
accurate, but
something else worth mentioning. I did some math.
Yeah. Okay.
Based on the number of homes. Yeah, I don't do math. Based on the number of homes that El Rey is in versus Pop, if they were in the same number of homes, Lucha Underground's viewership is now outdoing TNA's. If they were in the same number of homes, it would average out to more than TNA's. That's not good for a TNA. It's bad enough that like Ring of Honor surpassed them, but if Lucha Underground's doing it too, I mean, it happened in quality, even though I think that Lucha Underground has really been dragging this season.
Yeah, it's not been good, but you talk buzz-wise, you may have fewer viewers, but as far as actual, word of mouth and buzz over a promotion, Lucha Underground blows away.
Oh God, yeah, because it doesn't have it doesn't have that tainted feel. Right, it doesn't have the feel, even though it might not be around in a year or 2 years.
It's just like you want to talk TNA, but your brain is just going to hurt sometimes when you do it, because when TNA rebranded and became Impact Wrestling, you're like, okay, TNA as a name would probably throw off advertisers. Like, you're called TNA. Like, really? Do you know what that means? But also just the branding from fans who have come to know TNA as like a failing wrestling company and something that they didn't want a part of. So if you wanted to rebrand, go for it. Go be Impact Wrestling. The issue was, and this again is like, PR expert Dixie Carter is behind this rebrand. They never went 100% with it. They were still TNAwrestling.com. They still had the TNA initials everywhere. Like, they're not fully Impact Wrestling. They still have TNA all over the place. So if you want to rebrand, change everything. Don't go halfway.
Also, I forgot to mention earlier, Will Ospreay, star-making performance in New Japan, at least. That was awesome. The Vince Russo endorsed Will Ospreay, by the way.
Yeah, Will Ospreay's great. I mean, showed himself over Evolve weekend, over the WrestleMania weekend last weekend. I had a star-making performance. Everyone live just was raving about Will Ospreay. And then he has this performance with Kushida. I thought he was going to win the title. I really thought they were going to give him the junior title and give him a run. Even though they didn't do that with Matt Sydal, because you kind of had a similar situation when Matt Sydal came in last year. People thought he might win the title, and it didn't happen. So Will Ospreay will have to earn it. I mean, he's going to be back in New Japan. That wasn't a one and done. He's on the next tour and the next cards. So the J Cup's coming up. The Best of the Super Juniors are coming up. I would have to feel like he's going to win one of them. And next year's going to be crazy for Will Ospreay.
Kushida may be in my top 5 favorite current wrestlers right now, by the way.
Yeah, he's the ace. And I'm so glad they're giving him a run with this title, because every time it seemingly pulled away from him. And yeah, he's a Japanese guy and a Japanese centric promotion. You know, he's got the international, he speaks multiple languages. This guy is a guy you would want to promote around. Like, if you're trying to expand, he's a guy that the home fan base is going to love, but he will also be a guy that's going to be loved internationally. And he does great in the ring. He's proving that, you know, big show in, big show out, and he should get a long run. And he's the ace now of that junior heavyweight division. Like, if you want to win the title, you have to go through Kushida, and that's great.
Also, I'm a big lover of catch-can wrestling. His use of the double wrist lock and how he threatens it throughout an entire match is magnificent. It's something that I loved, that really hit home in that fantastic Kyle O'Reilly match, which made me a fan for life of Kushida, as if I couldn't have been before. Looks like he's facing Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be another one where the next couple of cards, they're not the biggest pay-per-views of all time. Wrestling Hinakuni and Wrestling Don't Taco, they're not the biggest shows of all time. They happen back to back. You're going to get Michael Elgin going against Kenny Omega. That's probably a win for Kenny Omega. You got Kushida going up against Jushin Liger. That's pretty much a win for Kushida. You have the tag team title rematch, and you have Tomohiro Ishii going up against Tetsuya Naito for the world title. That's probably a Naito win. These aren't supposed to be the most unpredictable shows. They're pretty predictable, because the next big show happens in the middle of June. And talk about how crazy June is going to be. June is going to have, you know, Dominion, which is the biggest New Japan show outside of Wrestling Kingdom. It's going to have this Global Cruiserweight Series taping, NXT TakeOver. I'm sure there's a WWE pay-per-view. I think it's Money in the Bank. No, is Money in the Bank in June? So
yes,
that's a usually exciting show. And then does UFC have anything in June?
Oh yeah, they've got UFC 199, 2 title fights on that show.
It's 199, right? So you got,
and then within the first, I think, a week, they have UFC 200 in July.
Right.
So it's going to be a crazy stretch.
It's a crazy time. You know, I know, you know, Dave Meltzer always talks about how that's really the kickoff for a crazy UFC period, because there's like 18,000 shows in 19 days.
Yes.
It's incredible. But it's a big time for pro wrestling too, not just MMA. It's a really crazy time. And, you know, this is where you got Will Ospreay on that show. You got the junior tag team title rematch. Let's talk about how Beretta and Rocky Romero won the titles from Ricochet and Matt Sydal. A lot of talk about
Matt Sydal can finally stop kicking out of everything on ROH TV.
Yeah, so you got some exciting stuff there, because there's a lot of talk. You know, you talk about Lucha Underground, you talk about New Japan, you talk about this Global Cruiserweight Series. Ricochet is a name that's been bantied about going almost in every direction. You know, Ricochet came out with a statement saying he was not going to be in the Global Cruiserweight Series, which may technically be true, but it's not. It does not mean he's not going to be in NXT in the next several months. So watch out for Ricochet. But yeah, it's an exciting time coming up. Like, it's a fun time being a wrestling fan. And what's made it even more, this isn't the Raw show, but how great was Raw this week, right? Like, This is an exciting time for every level, not just the underlings. This is an exciting time for WWE too.
Somebody is telling me that Josh Matthews
is the worst. Yes.
Well, compared Jade to Ronda Rousey on last night's Impact. Now, I like Jade just fine, but how dare you? I had somebody criticize me based on my Josh Matthews criticism last week. And they said, look at how many followers he has versus you.
So
I'm like, gee, he's been on TV for 15 years. I hope he has more followers than me.
He's a famous guy. Famous guys, famous people are going to get followers. Josh Matthews, I'm going to find out if he's blocked me here. I have to do the old login gimmick.
I mean, I don't have a problem with him personally. I just don't like his work. Also, let's talk about these Lucha Underground spoilers. Spoiler alert, Lucha Underground fans, because I know some of you hate that. Sometime within the next year, they have a new champion. Again, spoiler alert, Sexy Star.
Yeah. She
drops it to Johnny Mundo, which may be a worse decision than Sexy Star.
Is it?
I think Johnny Mundo, I don't like the character. I don't like the acting. Don't really like his in-ring work that much either.
Okay. Do you think, Yeah, but is that like you are not a fan of this decision, or do you think overall that Lucha Underground fans are not going to be a fan of the Johnny Mundo winning the title decision a year from now?
Yeah, well, I don't know how things will go. That's the thing about Lucha Underground. Like their first set of spoilers came out, and everybody was like, "This looks wacky." Then the show happened, and it kicked ass. So you never know how this stuff will play out. You don't know. Maybe this will be built up as some big momentous moment. And then it's like, here comes that dastardly Johnny Mundo to ruin it. So it could end up being good. Don't know. But I've never been a fan of Johnny Mundo. I tried to be. I wanted to buy the hype. But after 10 years, I'm still not seeing it. Still not seeing it. His charisma goes to the extent of his charisma is him saying, I am charismatic. That's it.
I got to say, I'm tired of the Johnny Mundo talk. I went to try and find if Josh Matthews had blocked us, and wouldn't you know it, Twitter is down right now. Likely service disruption. User reports on down right now. Yeah, it is twitter.com, the biggest website of all time, is currently down. So I do not know if Josh Matthews has canceled us.
I still can access some of my tweets that people have sent me because they're still up on the notifications on my phone.
There you go.
Hey.
There you go.
Somebody asked about the Brawl for All feature. What was the most interesting thing you learned when you were researching the Brawl for All article? The most interesting thing that I learned is that you can talk to 9 or 10 fake wrestlers about real fighting, and they will still tell you 9 different stories because pro wrestlers are going to try to work you no matter what.
Especially the pro wrestlers that were involved in that tournament.
Yes. Also, I found out that virtually everybody thought that Steve Blackman could have won that. And I believe it, outside of maybe Dan Severn, who was in it. And that's terrifying to think. Please go check that out. It's called Brawl for Naught. It's up on our main page. I'll answer some questions about it as it gets a little more, maybe tomorrow night. Somebody asks, do you all want the Warriors to break the Bulls record? Hell no, I don't.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I want the Warriors to win tonight. Embarrassing loss for the Miami Heat tonight, too. They were up at, 26 at halftime, and they end up losing by 10 to the Boston Celtics. So they go on a losing note, but the Atlanta Hawks lost, so they remain at the 3 seed. Also, embarrassing loss today for the Reds. I mean, you were bragging about how the Reds hadn't lost.
The game is not over.
Here they're coming to Chicago, and Joey Votto's got 100% more strikeouts than walks.
They still have 1 strike left, and they're only down 7.
Yeah, only 7. Yep. Yeah, no,
they're down 7.
Here's the thing about Joey Votto. He can't hit a 7-run home run, nor can he hit a 2-run home run because he would walk instead.
Suarez can, though. Can the Bray Wyatt character be saved, or is it too little too late? I think they were doing a good job of it in the last couple of weeks.
People need to get off the Bray Wyatt needs saving bandwagon because people still see Bray Wyatt as a respectable character. You can tell with the way they push him that he's still protected as much as he, he wasn't on WrestleMania in a match, but hey, he was in the segment with The Rock and John Cena. They like Bray Wyatt. He doesn't need saving. When they're in the ring with Bray Wyatt, people see that as a big time match. They've done really well with Bray Wyatt to the point where he's as close. And okay, people are going to yell at me, and I'm not going to say this correctly. But remember when they brought in Kevin Fertig and put him as Mordecai, and they wanted him to be the New Age Undertaker as like this kind of paranormal thing that fans just see as a big deal no matter what? Bray Wyatt is that. Bray Wyatt is being successful at that. He's not the next Undertaker. He's probably the next Kane, where, yes, some people are going to be tired that he's in the ring working the same match day in and day out every year, but he's still going to have this cachet with the audience to where this guy's a big deal. Bray Wyatt does not need saving, but he was on the verge of something really big, and it's sad if he's hurt for too long that they're not going to be able to play that up.
I'm with you completely there. Somebody says, I wonder if Dixie sinks the deal. Will the mystery investor go after ROH? No, ROH doesn't need an investor. They're not for sale.
Yeah, they are owned by a company that sees them for what it is. They're a product for television, and Sinclair, keeps...
They have a great owner.
Sinclair and Nexstar keep just buying more TV stations. They're in a pretty big battle right now. So they're going to keep Ring of Honor as this cheap programming because they are relatively cheap compared to what else they could get. Yeah. But as far as TNA, there's no mystery investor. People got to stop with that. It's either they sell completely or they're going to run themselves into the ground to where Vince is going to be able to buy the tape library for $1 million in a deal, in a steal, if you will, put out one CM Punk video and make all that money back and then some. I mean, Vince is just waiting for them to crumble. Like, someone asked me today, or no, 2 days ago, could Vince McMahon buy TNA? Could Vince buy TNA? Yeah, but he's not going to. He's going to wait until the last minute when he gets it for cheap.
This man, there's a story going around on Reddit now, crazy room service stories. And a woman who worked at a hotel said that Vince McMahon demanded a 22-ounce filet mignon and a Stairmaster.
I tell you.
And when they brought the Stairmaster up from their gym, he said, "No, I want a new one. I'll buy it." He paid for it and then left it there.
Well,
yeah, he can afford TNA.
He can afford TNA. I don't necessarily buy that story because 22-ounce steak for Vince is too small.
That's true.
I'm going 36, bottom of the barrel right there. Also, Stairmaster, I don't know if he's staying at a hotel that he'd have to call for that. There's going to be a concierge on his floor, and he's just going to be say, "Excuse me, fella, I would like a Stairmaster. Please bring it to me now."
Pal.
Bring it to me or you're fired.
Somebody says, where does Wade Barrett show up after WWE? His house, maybe acting, maybe soccer commentary.
Fox Sports Soccer. Yeah.
Any backstage dirt on just why Paige is so far in the doghouse? I think a combination of things. She's had a run.
She speaks her mind.
Yeah.
And they have Charlotte who they want to push, and they have this idea. And
other people in line too.
Yeah, they don't need it. Like, she's not in an integral storyline on Total Divas to where she needs to be a part of the title match or title picture. She's just right now kind of in waiting, which is, she's been around there for 2 years, barely even. It's not like she's some veteran who has to always be up top. She's a woman who's had a run and was 2 years on top. I mean, she's been on top ever since she debuted. It's time for something else, something new. And they're refreshing her a little bit. Some people aren't going to like it because they're big Paige fans. But between her being really outspoken, when she's doing these Comic-Cons and doing the Twitters and all this stuff, I'm not surprised at all that she's not on top right now. But I also don't think that's necessarily a hugely bad thing.
Also, guys, before we go, let me know what you want to see for my next long form feature. I did one a few months ago about Muhammad Hassan. I did one this week about the Brawl for All. I want to know what you guys want to see, and I'll try to track down the people involved. I'll answer some questions about the Brawl for All thing tomorrow because there's a lot that didn't go into it. Rob, any final words for our viewing audience and listening audience?
I just want to say thank you for watching these Wednesday and Thursday shows. Hopefully they're entertaining for you. I also want you to go to my Twitter at Shake Them Ropes, find more information about me and the different things I do. And I hope to see you back. Tomorrow is our next show, right, Sean? Tomorrow we're going to talk about SmackDown and some WWE stuff and take questions. So send in questions at Wrestling. What's the Wrestling Inc. Twitter? At Wrestling Inc.
At Wrestling Inc. And of course on the page, hashtag Wrestling Inc. podcast.
Yeah.
We're back tomorrow night after SmackDown. We're going to talk to Bray Wyatt injury, SmackDown happenings, the tag team tournament. As more news comes out, Wednesday's always a big news night. We're going to talk more about that. The future of Shane McMahon, some of the new WWE signings, maybe if there's anything that we need to talk about there. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Ross Sapp. Of course, go to trendybutler.com. Use that coupon code Wrestling10, all caps, ddpyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. Resurrection of Jake the Snake. Like I said, tweet Trendy Butler, tweet DDP Yoga. Let them know that the Wrestling Inc. podcast sent you and that you love us. Guys, we are back tomorrow night. Till then, we are out.